Hello and good day to all of you. Happy fall semester. My name is Zeph Collum, and I'm going to be your instructor for Introduction to Voice Disorders. This is our course overview syllabus video. I always do this for all of my classes, whether they're virtual or in person. And I'm really excited to have you as students. We're going to talk about a few things, particularly why this course was kind of changed at the last minute. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just there were some things that happened that required us to change the format a little bit. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that, but my intention for this video is really to help you understand. If you've read the syllabus and maybe you have a few questions, I can clarify a few things. Of course, you're always welcome, but very quickly, I also like to give everybody a virtual tour of how the course is set up, especially with this being a truly online course. There's going to be a few things different, but I'm really excited to be with you, even if it is virtually this semester. So let's talk a little bit about our class. So I think that you deserve an explanation and some assurance because things change rather quickly, and I hope it didn't affect your financial aid. I was a student who was on scholarship and financial aid, and so I know that when classes change, it kind of can make things go for a weird. But so what happened is that there was a lot of things that happened over the summer semester. So as y'all went from juniors to seniors, we also had several changes. First of all, we weren't in the building hardly at all. And we were kind of prepped to be told, we were told we wouldn't be in the building for the fall semester. So that's wonderful that we are. With that comes other challenges. So if you learn anything, hopefully from me and the other faculty, is that, challenges aren't going to change. You're always going to have a challenge in life. So even good things come with new challenges. So the first thing was at the last minute, we were told, hey, they've actually gotten ahead. You're safe to go into the building. Great. We don't have to worry about finding parking and rooms on main campus. The other major change, at least for me over the summer, was I was appointed and accepted the appointment of Director of Clinical Operations. So part of my job now is to analyze patient load, income, look at referrals and the schedule, and make sure that our clinic is compliant with the law, as well as collaborate with Ms. Marcier to make sure the graduate students are getting a comprehensive educational experience. And so with that, I had these other responsibilities. And so Dr. Cross and I talked, and really was my choice that to move this class to online. But I want to give you, I assure you, first of all, I assure you, I'm not perfect. There's going to be hiccups in technology. One of my strengths, Clifton's strengths that WT makes you do, is flexibility. I think we have to have rules, policy, and procedure, but I also feel like the rules have to serve a purpose. So I want to assure you that I am setting you up for success. For example, you're already getting a 20-point curve for the pre-test, post-test. It's up to 100 points, and really you're only going to have to earn 80 of them. I'm giving you the other 20. Also, I usually don't take late work, but because, again, we're starting a little bit behind the curve, I am going to be flexible and offer some late work policies for certain assignments, okay? Now, I don't know about you. I'm not the biggest fan of online learning until I was a PhD student, and then I loved online learning. But even in my face-to-face classes, which I'm hoping I will have y'all for acquired disorders in the spring, I still believe in the power of choice. And I think that online instruction gives us a little bit more choice. And so even in your formative assessments, there's often an alternative choice that you want to do. If you don't want to do the assignment, here's something you can do instead. You still have to do them, but there should be some flexibility. Another thing, which I've just started doing this in the fall since COVID, and it's worked out really well. Other people were doing it long before COVID, and so I've finally joined in with that peer pressure of we are finished by Thanksgiving. You will take or turn in, depending which one you do, your final summative assessment by the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And you are practically done, with the exception of one of the formative assessments can't be done or can't be turned in until right before dead day. because it's basically you show that you did the course evaluation. So I'm giving you points, even if you want to, that if you do the course evaluation and then have proof of it, which you just do a screenshot and upload it to turn it in, you are done with this class by Thanksgiving. So I want you to know that it's not your fault. You shouldn't be punished. I'm going to try and do my best. I've taught online before, actually. And like I said, I like to keep things as simple as possible for online, but I don't think it is the same as a face-to-face in-person course. My teaching is very hands-on. I think if you ask some of the grad ones who took this class, they would tell you how much we actually did in class. But I'm going to do my absolute best, but please be assured that I'm not wanting you to fail because of this choice and this how things are set up. You are going to have to work for your grade and earn it. You're not getting an education and paying for an education if you just have to go through and click some boxes and then you're done. You are going to have to work and just like a normal class, stay on top of things. But I am trying to make sure that you reap the benefits of an online class. So let's talk a little bit about course outcomes. If you look at the course objectives, they're on the syllabus. And also when we talk about, the learning plans, there are like smaller course objectives or learning targets for that week, right? But I also like to talk about big picture. When you say I took an undergraduate voice course, because some of you are probably audiology, some of you are probably speech, which this is definitely more of a speech language pathology focused course. A lot of the audiology students like it though, because it is so medically involved. But at the end of the day, when you're earning your bachelor's degree and you say, oh, I had an undergrad voice course, what are the questions I want you to be able to answer? And we can boil it down to two, maybe three-ish questions, and then there's a third outcome. The first is, what is a voice disorder? What do we mean when we say someone has a voice disorder? And then what are those different types of voice disorders, right? Second of all, what does the speech language pathology do in these different types of voice disorders? And this is very what I call snow cone shaving knowledge. Grad school is really the tip of the iceberg. There's so much that we just can't get done in 2 years, and there's so much we can't get done in 4 years, and 2 of which is dedicated to giving you fundamental principles. So again, it is very beginning level knowledge, but I want you to be able to do that. However, this third outcome is I want you to start being a critical and clinical thinker, which is why you have case study reports. When you see the case study, can you identify it, a concept? Can you figure it out by doing research? I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to be a clinician, audiology or speech, you have to learn to use what you know and then build upon that sometimes to be successful as a clinician. So keep that in mind, that there is a reason behind this. Now, am I expecting perfection? Absolutely not. That's not appropriate. Nobody's perfect. Progress over perfection. I do expect a good, solid effort. So think to yourself of, am I meeting these things? Am I doing these things? And then look to the syllabus and the learning plans. So let's talk a little bit about the logistics of the class and a little bit of information. Again, most of this is in the syllabus. I highly encourage you to download it, print it off, highlight it, get yourself a good binder. Again, this is a virtual class or online class. I am still a very tangible person. Even with my online classes, I just got done with my PhD. I am still like printed things. Okay. So I would still encourage you to print off the syllabus, print off assignments, that sort of stuff. You're going to turn things in electronically. But again, you'll even see handwritten for some of your weekly formative assessments are totally appropriate. But let's go over just a few things. So here's my contact information. I'm on the 3rd floor, Office R of Amarillo Center. Because I am still a PhD student, a PhD candidate, I'm all but dissertation. If I am not in clinic and I'm not in the classroom, I am in my office now doing some clinic director things, but I'm also probably on main campus working on my dissertation. So I want to meet with you if you need me, but what we found out is us being chained at our desk for office hours, students just don't come by. So I'm willing to make an appointment with you. I want to make an appointment with you if you need me, but I do need you to communicate that you need an appointment, and we'll probably meet via Zoom. If it's a Tuesday, Thursday, we probably can meet in person face-to-face. That's my email address. Make sure that you do Z column. Notice that it's 2 L's, 2 O's. If you send it to UM or EM, I'm not going to get it. You should get an error message. I don't think there's another column even that way. And it's not Colin, but I stress this just because I have had a student who's like, I've been emailing you. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And what we found out was she was misspelling my last name. So it's there in the syllabus. It's here. Make sure that you use the right email. That's my office phone number. I don't share my cell number with undergraduates. You should use WT course message for class concerns. So what I mean is if you have a question about assignment, somebody else probably can benefit from that. But if you're concerned about a grade or you want to discuss how you are doing in the course, you need to use email. So again, anything to do with the class in terms of assignments, somebody else probably has that question or wants to know that information. So I might share with everybody of, oh, someone asked about, is there a template for the SOAP note? Yes, there is. Here it is again. That's fine. But your individual concerns and your individual performance, I want to do that via email. It just helps me keep things straightened out, focusing on course stuff versus focusing on you as the individual student and learner. Let's talk a little bit about the points. So this is an accrued point. So you can accrue up to 500 points in this course. All right. So every week you have a pre-test and a post-test. You put all those together, except for I'm giving you 20 of the points. The other ones, these are give me grades. All you have to do is do them. What's really neat is the post-test you can take as many times as you want. Sometimes there's a huge bank, sometimes there's not a huge bank, but you can take the post-test as much as you want to practice for the multiple choice exam if that's what you choose to do. But 100 points come from pre-test, post-test. The pre-test, you just take it once, you're done. Weekly assessments, again, these are kind of to show me that you are at least engaging in the material. You only have to do 10 out of the 12 for a max of 200 points. So again, they're worth 20 points. You only have to do 10. So again, I'm giving you basically 2 weeks that you don't have to do one. I would encourage you that, again, you're only going to be better if you do all of them, but I'm only going to grade and look at 10 of the 12. So again, there's your other kind of grace, if you will. Case study responses, you will answer questions regarding case studies, and those are uploaded, except for the first one. I think the other 3, you have a choice between case studies. Those are worth 25 points apiece, and together they are 100 points. And then summative assessment, you're going to have a choice for your summative assessment. Consider this your final. You have a choice between your final. One comment on the weekly assessments, flex week. So there is a week where we don't have any formal content. During flex week, you will choose whether or not you want to take a mock conceptual exam, or you want to turn in a rough draft of your SOAP note, which is, again, your choice. And you don't have to do one or the other. So say you want to take the mock exam, but you want to do the SOAP note as your summative assessment. You don't have to turn in a rough draft if you don't want to. You will be formally choosing what you want to do around midterm. I think October 6th is when you have to let me know, I'm going to go this route for my summative assessment. I'm going to go, or I'm going to do the other. I just want to do that to make sure that if all of you are going to do the SOAP note, then there's no need in, even though I already have it written, there's no need in activating the multiple choice exam. Okay. But if all of you are going to do the multiple choice exam, I'm probably not going to post as many resources to help you write the SOAP note. So we'll talk more about that later on. But again, there's some flexibility. There's sometimes you don't have to do things. We're going to talk a little bit about these assignments and assessments, just a little bit more in detail. So the pre and post test. So again, if you think about it, 8 of the 12 weekly units have a pre-test and a post-test. So there's a pre and post test. So that's 8 times 2 is 16. They're worth 5 points apiece. And then so that's 80 points. And again, these are errorless learning and spaced retrieval. You're just getting credit for doing them. I just want them done by a certain time, at least the first time. The pre-test and the initial trial of the post-test are due the Tuesday that the next unit starts. So you gotta have to understand, if we start a unit or weekly content on a Tuesday, and we go to the next Tuesday, the next unit starts then, and that's when that pre and initial trial, the post test. You can keep taking the post test. It's going to stay open because you should be using these as little helpers to prepare for the multiple choice exam. I will tell you up front that it's not identical to these items, but it's very, very similar. But again, I'm also giving you 20 points because I know I'm going to mess up. There's going to be technology issues. I'm not perfect. I gave up trying to be perfect a long time ago. I still wish sometimes I was better than what I am, but I'm not. And that is my gift to you, that there's like one unit, I think it's the one with identity and trauma and voice, that you don't have pre-test, post-test. And then, of course, the first week you don't have pre-test, post-test. So I'm going to give you those 20 points as a, here, I'm already setting you up for success because, again, I know I'm going to make mistakes as well. Again, weekly formative assessments, you only have to do 10 out of the 12. If you want to do all 12, that's great. That's only going to make you better. But you're only going to earn a total of 200 points. So 10 times 20 equals 200. Again, there's some flexibility in these. There's also some alternative options. You don't want to build your own larynx, you can do these other ones. There's a list of these that I'll walk you through when we do our little virtual tour. Really, these are designed, the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them are designed to kind of help you prepare for that summative assessment choice of if you do the multiple choice. I'm telling you up front, I expect you to use your resources, except for one another, on that final assessment if you do the multiple choice. But it is time, so you don't have time to look everything up. You will be much better off if you stay organized and you do what you need to do, right? But trying to look everything up is not going to help you. You will have to at least prepare and be organized to be able to finish the assessment. But I expect you to not only use this for that test, but then when you go to grad school, especially if you're going to grad school with speech, you have some of the content that you're probably going to go over again, summarized in a nice, handy format that you can just review and be ahead. We're very fortunate that we have an introduction to voice and an introduction to fluency course, where a lot of undergraduate programs don't have that. They might get exposed a little bit to it if they have a medical intro to medical speech pathology course. They might get exposed a little bit to fluency if they have like an introduction to speech disorders, big, broad, general. But overall, we're very fortunate to have this. And several of my students who have gone to other graduate programs in speech have said, well, I was so well prepared. Again, I don't know that y'all will have the same feeling since this is online, but even my audiology students who have gone on audiology have said, oh, in my seminar of here's my review of speech language pathology, voice was so easy because we were ready to rock and roll. So I'm all about having resources once you're done with a course. The final summative assessment, as mentioned, you have two choices and you will have to commit to a choice. That is where maybe you don't have as much convenience as you would like with the choice. So choice one is a traditional conceptual exam. It will be 50 multiple choice questions, randomized from a pretty big question bank. So again, it's not 50, it's not the same 50 questions. They will be randomized, big bank, etc. You'll have 90 minutes for this exam. Again, I'm telling you up front, I expect you to use your resources. You can use your weekly formative assessments. You can use the slides. You're going to have to at least put in the time to be organized. You will have up to 3 trials, and I will take the highest attempt. So again, you'll have 90 minutes for each trial, and I'm going to take your best grade if you choose to do that. All right. Choice 2 prepares you more for graduate level practicum or even senior clinic, really. You're going to use some resources and you're going to basically evaluate a person you suspect of a voice disorder. You're going to begin and develop some emerging clinical skills, including taking a case history, collecting data, using tools, writing up these results in a clinical way rather than academic, and also learning to interact with people as patients. There's pros and cons to each choice. I mean, that's life. You kind of have to choose what you think is going to be best for you. But I do think that, you know, if I'm fine with, if you want to do the traditional exam because that's what's going to help you, it'll be open for probably a solid day and a half. So you have a little bit of a window. We'll talk more about academic integrity and whatnot. And again, the SOAP note, I would probably say I will have a rubric. I've also posted an example. But again, you're emerging. So there's also probably more flexibility and leeway in the SOAP note version, other than learning how to use the tools and whatnot. But you're not doing anything that you can't do with your ear, with what a patient tells you, etc. Next is your case study responses and reports. In graduate school, you do a lot with case studies. In fact, clinical practicum is a case study that's alive. And you really do have to start figuring things out. We can't teach you everything. That's one of the big debates in the field, is that, do you need more school at the graduate level to really be prepared to see patients? But right now, we cannot teach you everything that you need to know for patients in 2 years. I'm going to be honest with you. Our job is to give you a solid foundation. So what this does is help you get used to doing case studies, gets you used to clinical situations and scenarios, and builds those critical clinical thinking. I'm going to tell you up front, there are some questions or some prompts that I want to see how you think, right? I'm teaching you how to think. And again, thinking, everybody's looks different. Now, does that mean I'm going to agree with you? No. Again, there's an example on WT class. Now, I will tell you that comes from a graduate student. So, if you turned that in, you would be above the maximum points. It would be above a 25. I will develop more of a rubric and help you know kind of what I expect, which I think I've posted. I can't remember if I've posted the rubric for case study responses or not. Some of the cases are really short, but you really have to think through them. If you look in the syllabus, all of the cases are a little bit different. With the exception of the first case assignment, you have options, and they're different types of cases. Some of them you have the evaluation and the data, and now why is this appropriate? There are some cases where it's like, do you agree with, based on what you've learned about voice disorders, that this is what happens? You might have to use the content, not just my slides. I mean, that's also part of the thing, is you're going to get what you want out of this course. I'm not dumb. I was a good student myself, but even I skimmed and had to kind of not complete everything I was supposed to at times. But then it often always showed up that, oh, I should have watched that video. I'm not tracking you. I'm not babysitting you. Can I do that? Absolutely. But I mean, really, these case studies are to help you get used to what is going to be expected of you in the future, audiology or speech. More important than being right is that you learn how. So it's not so much about the what, and it's not about the accuracy. It's about, are you putting in the effort, and are you growing and progressing towards those critical and clinical thinking skills? Let's talk a little bit about course format and recommendations, and this is where we will take a little virtual tour in a moment. So it is an asynchronous online course, which means we don't have meeting times. You're not required to be on Zoom. You really hypothetically could start this class now. We're starting a little bit behind, as I told you in the course message, but you really could knock this course out if you wanted to. Everything's open except for the Flex Week weekly assessment and the final summative assessment. Everything else, there's some learning plans that aren't uploaded, but the pre-test, post-test, they're uploaded. All the I've got a few of the clinical connection stuff that's not uploaded yet, but I mean, in terms of getting stuff done for grades, you could get a lot of it done. How I would recommend, and this is also in the syllabus, you would go about this, is first download and review the learning plan. That's really going to be your friend to say, like, what am I supposed to get out of this? What am I supposed to do? You'll notice that there are learning targets or learning objectives. Those are breaking the learning outcomes for the course down to specific things. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. That's where test questions are going to come if you do the traditional conceptual exam. I will provide slides. I'm trying something new. I often do a flipped classroom, which is where I provide lectures as well as other content with slides, and then we do activities in the classroom. This year, I'm not doing, at least for this course, I'm not going to do lectures. So the slides are there for you, and what I'd rather you do is watch media clips and kind of see what's between my slides, the same between my slides as well as those media clips. And those are probably the things you really should harp on, right? I would tell you to complete the pre-test, then survey or go through the content, whether that's media clips, the clinical connections. Those are going to be mostly case studies that I walk you through of my own patients, just because of the nature of starting when we're starting. My initial idea was to have actual audio samples and everything, but I won't always have that, unfortunately. It's just part of it. But this way you kind of get familiar with very case-based learning. It's another way to get you familiar with case-based learning. Take the post test. Again, it's your friend. Complete the weekly assessment, turn it into the week that it's due. And then, of course, always check your deadlines for case studies, prep for the summative assessment, get ahead. But again, if you want to be done, be done. Usually a unit runs, or a weekly unit runs between a Tuesday and a Tuesday. But that means on that Tuesday, that unit stops, the next unit begins. Let's go ahead and go on that little virtual tour. So I'm going to basically be in WT class and show you where everything is. All right. So let's go right here. You're going to have to excuse, I've got so many windows open. It's not funny. Okay. So here we are. Mine's going to look a little different because I'm an instructor. I want you to go to the lessons tab. Okay. At the very top, that's where formative assessments are going to be. So it's going to show you, I've got some examples that you can download and look at. Here is your assignment sheet. You click that and it talks about the directions for the weekly formative assessments. Now, this is not where you're going to turn them in. It just tells you what the option is, what you're supposed to do, alternatives, etc., and the due date. There's also a rubric for weekly assignments and assessments that tells you what a 20 is, what a 16 is, etc. Okay, here's where the case study response assignments are. This is that example of a full credit case study. I've gone through from a graduate student's case study assignment and highlighted things and said why it's good, etc. Why is it for your class of 25? I'll also probably create a rubric so you kind of know what to do. Here's case study response 1, due date, 2, due date, 3, due date, 4, due date. And the Turnitin link in Dropbox is there. Again, except for case study 1, it's really going to focus on getting you exposed to acronyms and medical terminology. The other ones, you have a choice of 2 case studies. And you pick one and do them. If you want to do both, you can. I'm just going to grade. You'll just turn in one. All right. So then let's go back to lessons. There's nothing in the final summative assessment folder yet because we're not at the end of the semester, but there is an example of that SOAP report. It is based on a real patient for a clinical bedside swallow and speech language cognitive communication evaluation in acute care. I work sometimes in acute care still. So it doesn't have any real patient information. It's just based on what I do all the time. I will upload, if you choose to do the SOAP version, that is where you'll have an example and a format and a template. Course overview. This is where all semester due dates are, and this is where you'll see the Turnitin for the weekly assessment is always in here. This is also where this video is probably going to be posted, or the link for the YouTube video will be in here. I do the videos on YouTube so you can see them probably on your phone or mobile device. Students have just complained that since we've moved to Panopto, there's been all sorts of issues. So I just don't do Panopto yet. I probably will. I'll probably have to soon. But right now I'm doing YouTube links. Human voice. So again, here's that learning plan just to kind of show you what that looks like. They're in PDF format. You'll download. I give you kind of an overview of what we're supposed to do. Then I have the learning objectives or targets. Then I tell you this is the sequence you should try to do things. And then finish strong. These are what you have to do. All right, looks like that. Again, these here are your friends for the multiple choice, if that's the route you're going to go. Pardon me. All right. Then there's the human voice pretest, PowerPoint slides. They're in PDF format. Again, that way, if you want to download them, you can. And then your content will look videos, sometimes websites. Then your human voice post-test, and your formative assessment. That's how everyone looks. All right. Flex week won't have much in it, because other than if you choose, again, you may choose to not do week 6. May be one of those things of like, dang, I'm taking a break. I don't need one more thing to do. You don't have to do it, but again, you have to do 10 of the 12. But in there will be to turn it in for it. And then course conclusion, there'll be the only thing that's going to be there is for your formative assessment if you choose to do the course evaluation. That's pretty much the course. There's not any resources. I don't use this tab. Again, mine looks a little bit different than yours does. But again, the only thing that I'm kind of concerned or that you might be worried about is you'll need to get only the Turnitin links are in the weekly content. The directions and what you're supposed to do, that is in the syllabus as well as here in weekly formative assessments. All right. So that was our little virtual tour. Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Awesome. All right, so one thing I'm doing differently is late work. I believe in being on time, and part of success as a professional is doing things timely and on time. So I'm going to tell you up front, because I'm already giving so much curve and grace on the pre and post tests, if you miss the deadline, you can still take the post test, but you're not getting the points. So you really do need to get those done by the time that they're due. All right. Again, they're due right before midnight on the night that a unit ends. Okay. And again, those dates are posted. I will accept late work for these things. So for weekly assessments, I get it. Life happens to all of us. So I'm giving you a full extra week and a half. So again, they're usually due on a Wednesday. You can turn it in, not the coming Friday, not 2 days after when it was due, but the next Friday, and I will give you, or you will be able to earn the highest grade of 14 points. Does that mean you're getting 14 points? No, it means if everything's perfect, you will get 14 points, but if not, we're deducting, but you're taking a deduction, right? Case reports, you can turn up to 1 week later. So they're usually due on Friday. You can turn in the next Friday for the highest grade to be 20 points. There were 25 points. But after those deadlines, you're not getting any credit. I'll still look at it and give you feedback if you want. But again, I'm already giving grace there. You really do. And especially those weekly assessments, you're having plenty of time to get them done if you're doing what you're supposed to. The final summative assessment, again, life happens to all of us, and there are circumstances that I'm not helping you by not helping you. So there are some reasons for why we might have to do something different for that final summative assessment. Now, keep in mind, this is an online class, so poor technology is not my responsibility. It is your responsibility to make sure your technology is effective, sufficient, and gets done what needs to get done. So again, poor technology, not an excuse. It's just not. You need to prepare, especially what happens almost every year is somebody takes, if I do an online final, they're like, oh, Mr. Collin, my internet gave out. Well, I understand that happens, but did you really prepare for that? Did you come to main campus? Did you use a computer lab? Not that stuff doesn't go down even there, but again, no, be prepared, be proactive. So a little bit of expectation requirements. There is a recommended textbook, but don't buy it. You can get it free through the library. If you want that link or you need me to help you access that, I would say you don't have to have the book to be successful. You don't. It's just some students have said like, oh yeah, I used the book to help me with, say, the case studies. So I would it is recommended, but it's not required. And I promise you, it's not really required. Again, you can access it through the library for free. As mentioned, and I'm not going to stay on this soapbox much longer, you have to have reliable technology for this course. And that includes for the final summative assessment. If you need to go to a computer lab to take that test, you need to do such. All right. Big thing we're having to deal with is faculty. Again, there were different problems when I was a student. There were different problems 5 years ago when I started here at WT, and now there's new problems. No AI, it's not going to help you. If anything, it's going to be a glorified Google search. Some of these things, yeah, I will be able to tell because I actually saw someone use it at a conference I went to this summer, and I could have done what it did for me with a Google search, because the things that it was asked to do, it would flat out say, I can't do this other than give you very basic information. So do not do it. It's considered academic dishonesty. If you're caught being academically dishonest, you fail the course. It's not worth it. I'm not stupid, in that people collaborate, and in the real world, we collaborate. You should keep it to a minimal. During the final test, I would advise you don't take it at the same time as your friend. First of all, you're not going to have the same questions. It's highly unlikely you'll have the same questions. And even if you do have the same questions, the responses are going to be randomized and in a different order. I have had students that when we ran IP addresses, actually, this happened when I was a professor, or as I've been a professor, and it happened when I was a student. They ran IP addresses and found out that people were taking the tests like right next to each other in the computer lab. Yes, they are tracking you. So don't do that. If you want to collaborate on the case studies, that's fine to a point, but you're not doing yourself any help. Again, I expect you to use your resources, use the internet, I'm not monitoring you during your final exam if that's the option you choose. I've put other things in there to minimize that. I really do want to encourage you to use your resources to be successful, but not one another. You really do need to grow because, again, we're a very traditional graduate program, and you will be prepared if you do what you're supposed to do. Again, I believe in working hard so we can play hard. Again, I'm giving you a week where we don't really have any content, and we're ending by Thanksgiving, which means we've got to do a lot before Thanksgiving. And really the thing I want to stress to you most of all is I will treat you with candor or honesty, intelligence, and goodwill. I want you to be successful. I have a life. I'm not wanting you to fail, but I do want to do my job and prepare you adequately as much as I possibly can in this environment to be prepared for graduate school or whatever your goal is. All right. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't be afraid to email me or contact me via Blackboard. The next time you probably see me, I'm going to post my About Me presentation. So that way you do get to know a little bit about me. Again, I'm kind of bummed that we're not meeting face-to-face, but it had to happen. And I really hope that you enjoy. I love Intro to Voice Disorders. Again, I took this job at WT because of the Voice Lab. I'm very fortunate to do what I do. And again, I'm really excited. We're going to make the best of this. Take care.